Hi, I'm David Leake, coordinator of the William M. Starkville Planetarium at Parkland College. On this edition of Surrounded by Science, we're going to be talking with Chris Warren about the Personal Training Certificate program here at Parkland, and also introduce you to a new piece of machinery on this edition of Surrounded by Science.
Get the ball rolling to a new career with an Eastern Illinois University degree at Parkland College.
Parkland and Eastern really made it work for me.
Now I'm taking Eastern classes on Parkland's campus.
I'm working on my bachelor's degree from Eastern without commuting.
Thanks to Parkland and Eastern, I'm reaching my goals.
For more on Eastern at Parkland, call 217-351-2543.
I took dual credit programs online with Parkland College. It was convenient for me to take the online courses because I could work on the homework when it worked with my schedule. The first course I took online was Latin American history. I have to admit, I was kind of nervous considering it was my first college class. I thought it would be really hard. The teachers were very understanding. You could email them anytime you needed them. They set it up really nicely, and I feel like I got a great education. When I enter the university in the fall, I'll have already completed 12 hours of college credit. That's a full semester.
As an instructor, I view academic honesty as very important in the classroom. I want the students to not be deprived of their learning and learning how to learn material. And I view that if they look at someone else's paper or try to get information from someone else without thinking about it, then they're depriving themselves of the learning process.
It's not just about covering bases. It's about making sure that you're conducting yourself in a very professional fashion. In my opinion, personally, that's always the thing that wins the day, is doing what's right, even when nobody else is looking.
I want to be truthful in what knowledge I know and sort of promote a role model for my students.
Honesty not only serves the college very well, it serves the student very well.
Honesty and integrity.
Honesty and integrity, Parkland College.
Parkland College.
Okay, we're here in the studios of PCTV to talk to Chris Warren about the Department of Kinesiology and also some new equipment that they have to be using. In fact, Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on the show. And I guess I'm first interested, Professor of Kinesiology. What's kinesiology? That's kind of a new word, I think, in the last 10 years, isn't it?
Yeah, we get that question a lot, as you would expect. And a lot of people think it's just a fancy name for somebody who's in physical education, but really the field has exploded in the last 10 years. And so it encompasses a lot of things, but if I were to define kinesiology very simply, it would be the study of human movement or the study of physical activity.
And I think it's interesting that the kinesiology program is in the Department of Natural Sciences. And of course, the show is about science. So where does science get involved in the kinesiology program, just in general?
Sure. You have to have a tremendous background in anatomy and physiology. And then I think one of the greatest advancements, obviously, in the field of physical activity is the technological advancements that we've had recently. Just for example, when my father got his first cell phone, I remember we got the big square phone and it would take up all the space in between the two bucket seats in our van, and eventually that technology got cheaper and obviously it's gotten much smaller. It's the same thing in the field of kines. 10 to 15 years ago, if you were to try to buy a heart rate monitor for your personal use, it would probably cost you thousands of dollars. Now the price of those and the technology involved with that type of equipment is much cheaper, and so the population as a whole has access to it.
Now, as far as kinesiology as a whole, what is involved in that? I mean, obviously, like if you're in biology, you can break that down into a lot of different sub-areas, but what do people do in kinesiology?
There's a plethora of jobs in the field. I think one of the most important jobs are the physical education teachers. I think with the obesity epidemic on the rise, we need good quality physical education teachers to teach our children how to eat correctly and to be physically active. With the baby boomer generation, there's 77 million people out there with discretionary income that are going to need massage therapists, they're going to need personal trainers, they're going to need PTs, OTs, and what we do in the kinesiology program is we have a gateway course. It's Kinesiology 160, and we examine all the jobs that fall underneath the kinesiology umbrella. and take a look at the educational pathway needed to get to those jobs. Like, what certifications do you need? How many years of education do you need? How much will the certifications cost? What will your typical job hours be? What's the job outlook in that area? We do things that I just think a lot of 18-year-old students don't necessarily think about at that point in their lives. They feel like they kind of throw a dart at a board and say, well, I'm going to try this major. And with that gateway course, we can kind of lead them in the right direction and say, hey, these are the requirements for this particular job. Does it suit your personality? Is this something that interests you? Because people who go to work every day, we want to love our jobs. I love what I do here at Parkland College, and I want to get more people who wake up every morning and say, I can't wait to get to work.
And kinesiology is fairly new, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Just roughly 5 years, 6 years, or less than that?
Yeah, probably a little bit long, maybe a little bit longer than that. I think there's been some confusion in the field, and we've finally gotten to the point where we've come to a standard name of kinesiology. If you look through the curriculums across the country in colleges and universities, there's a variety of names, but most people have that title in that area now.
Okay, now we want to talk about personal training certificate. Did I say that right?
Correct. Yes.
Which is also something, the actual certification, I think, is relatively new at Parkland, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
And go ahead. Why don't we talk about that for a while?
Sure. Well, if we look at the kinesiology program as a whole, we originally started with transfer students in mind. So we have 4 transfer programs. We have a transfer program in athletic training. We have a transfer program in teaching and coaching. We have sport management, and we also have exercise physiology. So depending on what job you want to get at the end of the road, you would take one of those typical pathways. But then I discovered we had a lot of students that were coming in here that come from a variety of different backgrounds who weren't sure how long they wanted to go to school. They didn't know if they wanted to go to school for 1 year and go straight into the workforce and try to get a job, or if they wanted to get their associates or continue on for a bachelor's or potentially a master's or PhD. And so we've started to expand the curriculum, and that's what we're excited about. Our program here is growing exponentially, really quickly, and so we've added some things recently. So we've added the American Sport Education Program, coaching certification. So if you're interested in being a coach, at the IESA or IHSA level in the state of Illinois, you have to be certified. So attached to our Theories and Principles of Coaching class is that certification. What we've done in the past year is we've created a personal training fitness certification. And in the old days, there was a variety of organizations you could get your certification through, and many of them were weekend courses or internet courses where people could go online. In some cases, the questions weren't that difficult, and there wasn't a lot of monitoring of those certifications. So that's why the personal fitness training industry has always had kind of a cloud over it. Well, in the last 5 to 10 years, there's been 3 or 4 staple organizations in the country that have really made some stringent requirements for becoming a personal trainer. And if you're going to hire a personal trainer, you'd want to make sure that they had one of those 3 or 4 certifications. So what we did is we went out there and we tried to find the gold standard. And in our opinion, the National Strength and Conditioning Association has the best curriculum. It's the most stringent. And we've put that into our certificate program so that at the culmination of your 1-year program, you take the NSCA examination to be certified.
So they're the ones that are actually doing the certification.
Absolutely,
here.
yes.
But how many people do you have in the program?
We have a seat cap of 20 in the program right now. This semester we had 14 students who are finishing up their 1-year curriculum.
And how long does it take to get through the certification?
Well, it depends on how much of a background you have in the field. Again, we have a variety of students in that class. Some of the students are 18-year-old freshmen. This is their first or second semester in college, and obviously they've got to get the background information. So within those 25 credit hours, we have a nutrition course, we have exercise physiology, we have anatomy and physiology, and then we have the 2 large courses, which is the Introduction to Personal Fitness Training 1 and Personal Fitness Training 2. And so if you've had nutrition or if you've had anatomy and phys, if you've already got an undergraduate degree or already have a master's degree, then you can come back in and just pick up the pieces that you haven't already hit. So they're all started in various areas.
So is there any kind, when new students come to you, is there any kind of assessment that's done that to figure out where they need to start out in the
Absolutely.
program?
We take a look at their transcripts and we evaluate them and try to talk to them about what type of history or experience they have in the field.
So it's interesting you have all ages together. So yeah, you don't have to say names. Who's the oldest person in your program?
I would say You know, I probably don't even know the oldest person, but we have several middle-aged women that are training for us, and then we have 18-year-old college students and everything in between. That's one of the cool things I think about the program is there's a variety of people with a variety of backgrounds, and when you're talking about exercise and nutritional habits, it's good to have that background and that experience. Like, you know, the older students bring something to the younger students and vice versa.
Now, as far as someone comes to you, how much does something like this cost? Are there costs for the program?
Sure. One of the things I'm really excited about, the NSCA examination typically costs about $400. It's not cheap. You have to pay $95 to become a student member. You have to pay $285 to take the computer-based exam. And what we did this year, in the second semester, the personal trainers do clinicals. So they have 2 clients each that they train for 12 consecutive weeks, and we charge very minimal pricing for that. Like, we have a very low cost compared to what the market rate is in Champaign-Urbana. It's a great experience for both populations. It's a win-win. So our students get the experience of working with real clientele. Our clientele get to come work with a personal trainer for a very low cost. What we've done is we've taken all of the money that we've brought into the program through those clinicals, and we're going to help reimburse the students for a significant portion of that test.
Interesting, interesting. And you also, I believe you told me earlier that you work with some of the sports teams?
Absolutely, absolutely. We worked with women's softball this year. We did some work with women's basketball. We've trained a couple of baseball players. We had one of our clients run the Boston Marathon last week. We have a variety of athletes we work with, which is what most people think about when they think of personal training. But the thing that I want to stress is we also have several other clients that are in there for a variety of reasons. Our oldest client is 72 years old, and he comes in and exactly, very active. He trains with us 3 times a week, and obviously he's not in there for performance reasons. He's in there for quality of life. He's in there for reasons other than what our athletes would be in there for. So this semester we trained 36 clients for 12 weeks with the additional athletic teams as well.
Now, the people who get this certificate, what kind of jobs are they going to be going to ideally? Is there a wide range of things that they could be doing after they get the certification?
Absolutely. Obviously they could work in any of the facilities here in Champaign-Urbana. We have, you know, I guess I can't say it on public, without advertising, I can't say, hey, they could go work at this gym or that gym, but all the public facilities that are available in Champaign-Urbana would hire with the NSCA certification. The thing I stress with our students is this. To me, it's not a be-all, end-all. It's not a go to school for 1 year, go out and work as a personal trainer full-time. For some people, if you're really entrepreneurial, if you're really dedicated, if you've got that type A personality, you could go out there and you can make a good living doing that. But for most of our students, the information is fun to learn, it's enjoyable, they love being in the fitness center and working with people and helping people achieve their goals. I see it as a stepping stone. It's just one of many certifications that they're going to get. So my hope is that they'll come in, even if there's somebody who thinks that college is not for them, and say, hey, I love studying this. This is really cool information. I love Kinesiology as a major. Let me go on and get my associate's degree. And then let's transfer. And then when you transfer, most of the schools in the state have personal trainers working in their fitness facilities. And we have kids at all the state schools now, and it's a way to earn extra income while you're pursuing your degree. And if you decide to make it a lifelong commitment, do that. And if not, add more certifications to you, and it just adds to your knowledge base.
Wow, that's amazing. You mentioned the fitness center. I bet not many people realize Parkland has a fitness center. Why don't you just mention a word about that?
Absolutely. The fitness center is located in the lower level of the gymnasium. We have some really nice equipment that we've added down there lately. We've got a Smith machine. We've got the Polar Trifit, which I think is one of the best assessment tools on the market. It costs us about $14,000, and it does some amazing things. We've got some functional movement screens down there. We're trying to become state-of-the-art. As many people know, Parkland is currently under construction, and we're hoping in the next couple of years we can build a brand new facility that'll serve our clientele base.
Yeah, and that's going to be amazing when they get the brand new facility here. So, you mentioned the Trifit and some of the movement screens. We're going to see a demonstration of those a little later, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Okay. And if somebody's out there watching and are thinking, you know, this sounds kind of interesting, I might want to get involved in this, how would they start? What's the first thing they should do?
I think the best thing would do, just get in touch with me. Call me, shoot me an email. Let me know what your interests are. I can explain the program and how it works to you in greater detail, and we can go from there.
Does somebody start, is it like a semester thing where they start in the fall, or?
Absolutely. Kines 101, the personal fitness training, one class is only offered in the fall. So it's very important that if you're going to start the curriculum that you get started in the fall and you get a seat in that class.
And how can somebody get a hold of you?
My office is L134. I'm in the L wing. My email is cwarren@parkland.edu, or you could call my office extension, which is 217-351-2591.
Okay, well, we're anxious to see some of the equipment that's going to be in use here in just a little bit.
Hey, Allison and Dylan, what if I told you you could get a head start on college before you graduated high school and for little to no cost?
Well, I'd ask you what the catch is.
Yeah, how can I take college courses if I haven't even finished high school yet?
That's easy. You simply enroll in dual credit courses at Parkland College.
But won't that be expensive?
Yeah, will all the credits transfer?
Well, most four-year universities accept these credits, and you're actually saving money. Many times the high school will even cover the cost of the course.
I'm sorry, did I overhear you guys correctly? Did you just say that you could take college courses without paying college tuition?
Yeah, all we pay for is the course and the textbook, and we can earn college credit towards getting our degree.
You guys are catching on. The credit works toward a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, and even toward career certificate programs.
I like the sound of this.
I don't know, this all sounds great, but I already have a busy schedule and I won't have time to drive to classes.
You won't have to. Parkland offers a number of dual credit courses online in addition to the on-campus courses. Some of the courses are even taught in your high school.
You mean to say that one of the high school classes I'm taking right now could work as a dual credit course as well?
Yes, you should talk to the school counselor to see which classes are offered as dual credit in our school. Then all you need to do is apply to Parkland, and once you're accepted, fill out the application to the dual credit program. You'll need the signature of your parents and advisor for this.
That sounds easy enough, but are there any requirements to being eligible for dual credit?
Yes, you must be a junior or senior in high school, age 16 or above, in order to be eligible for dual credit courses. You can print an application online or visit Parkland's admissions office to pick one up.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to see the counselor right now.
Yeah, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity.
Me neither.
We're in the PCTV studios with Chris Warren talking about the personal training certificate, and you have a interesting piece of equipment that you brought with you today.
Yeah, Dave, this is the Polar Trifit machine. It was originally designed for physical education curriculums, but now it's really hitting the health and fitness market. A lot of health clubs are using it for assessment of their clientele. So this is one of the things that I think it's very important for us to teach our students how to use the latest technology. Technology is a great thing, but if you don't know how to use it, if you're not comfortable using it, then it doesn't get used. So I feel like our curriculum is a good blend of in-class lectures coupled with hands-on experience.
So anybody in the certificate program is going to get to learn how to use this machine then?
Yes, yes. So they'll learn it in a classroom setting, and we'll use each other as guinea pigs, and then when they get into that second semester and everyone is comfortable using it, that's when we bring in our clinical clients, and they actually take a client through the entire process. So they sit down and do the client consultation, they take care of all the paperwork, the physical activity readiness questionnaire, health medical history. They talk to the client about what their individual goals are. But then I think one of the most important things that you have to do as a personal trainer is to assess them. And so this is one of the tools, one of the devices that we use to assess our clients.
So it's very hands-on, it sounds like, not just sitting in a classroom.
It is hands-on. And the thing I really like about it is it's going to store your information over your entire training period with us. So especially for faculty and staff at Parkland College, if you get assessed through our program, and then say you work 2, 4, 5, 10 years at Parkland College, we're going to have data on you every single semester, and we're going to be able to see trends, we're going to be able to see what progress you've made, and we're going to have access to that information at any time.
And you're going to show us how it works?
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's fire her up.
Sure. Tony, would you like to join us?
Sure.
Thank you.
We have our colleague and lovely assistant, Tony Burkhalter, with us.
One of the things I'd like to show you to begin with is the health risk appraisals. So when we're assessing a client, one of the things that we want to do is determine what their risk is for all of these various diseases. So we have health risk appraisals on heart disease, cancer, diabetes, stress, depression, nutrition, prevention, and safety. So one of the things the client does when they originally sit down with us is they're going to go through and they're going to answer a series of questions on these, because these are related to the 5 components of health-related fitness. And if you're at risk of getting heart disease, for example, obviously our exercise prescription needs to reflect that. We want to try to counteract that. So we try to pick up as much information as we can from you as possible initially. So what I'll do is I'll just take you through a quick demonstration. So with Tony, she's tested with us before. We would enter her information, which is already in there, and then we're just going to click on New Record. And once the new record comes up, you can see it's going to walk us through everything that we need to know. So the first assessment that we're going to do is bioelectrical impedance analysis. So we're going to determine her body composition, which is one of the greatest indicators of whether you're at risk for disease. So if Tony, I could have you remove your shoes and socks for me. Most of these tests are very simple. They take very little time. We can probably do an entire assessment on the Trifit in 10 to 15 minutes. So it doesn't take us that long to get good quality information about you. She's going to put her heels right in the middle of the electrodes, and this is going to shoot an electrical current through her that she's not going to feel. Right? It's painless. She's not going to feel it, and it's going to determine her body composition based on how much resistance it gets from that current. So once the computer system picks it up, you can see we've got her numbers. She can step down. Thank you. And then we would move through the battery of tests just like that, in that manner. So the very next test would be blood pressure. We would have her sit down. We've got a blood pressure cuff attached to the computer system that would take her blood pressure. After blood pressure, we would move to bicep strength. So if you could step on the platform. We're going to put her elbows at a 90-degree angle. She's going to take all of the tension out of that cable for me. There you go. And she's going to pull up as hard as she possibly can for 5 seconds, and it's going to give her an idea of her relative strength, or how strong she is compared to her body weight.
So the machine's just basically measuring the tension in the cable?
Correct, okay. Coupled with the amount of pounds of force that are generated into the platform. It's also a scale.
Okay.
And then we'll have her step over here, and we'll do a flexibility measurement. She's going to put her feet against the platform. In this test, I'd like to get her at 90 degrees. And she's going to go from this position. She's going to take a deep breath, slowly exhale, and very slowly go forward as far as she can, keeping her knees on the ground. And that's going to give us a flexibility measurement. So it's good stuff. It gives us good initial data. And that way, over the course of the semester, over the course of your time training with us, we know where you started. And then we can track your progress, and then finally see where you finish up.
Very interesting. And so you do this over the course of the whole program, and you basically have a profile, right, of
Correct.
everybody that goes. Okay.
Correct. We typically do a pre and a post assessment. Now, this is a lot of these tests are related to health components. We also do a functional movement screen. One of the staples of our program, one of the things I truly believe in, is primitive movement patterns. So we do Gray Cook's functional movement screen. It was designed by a physical therapist, and what it looks for is deficiencies in your movement patterns. For example, if Tony could step over here, grab this dowel. We're going to just do a simple two-legged squat test. So Tony is going to take the dowel, put her elbows at 90 degrees, place the dowel on top of her head, feet are about shoulder width apart, and I want you to fully extend your arms. And now we're going to do a two-legged squat through the full range of motion. Now, what I'm looking for here is any type of breakdown in her movement pattern. So if she's had an injury on one side, say she's had a knee injury on her left side, typically my eye will catch that. If her heels are popping up off the ground, I know that perhaps her calf complex is tight. Maybe the gastroc and the soleus are tight.
So this is not electronic. This is something you have to be aware of, and you're watching her for any irregularities then, right?
Correct, which is why I think it's so valuable that our personal trainers get this hands-on experience. I mean, you can read it out of a textbook. You can study as much as you want, but until you work with actual clientele and until you get thousands of reps in, I don't feel like you're ready to jump out there in the real world. So I feel that once our trainers graduate, they've been through so much of this stuff hands-on that it's second hat to them, and they're very comfortable and they have a very keen eye for what they should be looking for. Another test that we can do is called an inline lunge test. She's going to take the dowel and she's going to put one hand behind her neck, the other hand in her low back, and she's going to lunge forward. And what we're looking for, again, is any type of movement discrepancy. So a lot of this test is testing whether she has instability in the frontal plane, whether she tips left to right, whether she has too much trunk flexion or trunk extension. What we want to see is clean, crisp movement patterns. And if we don't see those, then we have exercises that we can prescribe that will clean that up and fix that for you. So it's really just ground level work to get an assessment of where you're at, and then we base your individual exercise prescription on where we think you need to strengthen, what areas need to be strengthened. So really cool. Go ahead and demonstrate that. Good. So she's under the gun here. She's on television, and she had a little bit of leftward lean there. So we let people repeat the test 3 times. We make sure they're comfortable with the instructions, and then we evaluate and we sit down and go over your exercise prescription with you.
Now, if someone got into this personal training certificate, you're seeing both sides of this, like you would do this part and the part that you're doing and actually evaluating people. Is that correct, or is it just the part you're doing? As far as if somebody got into the program, would they be doing both the things that you're doing?
Yes.
That
Absolutely.
Tony and that you're doing to
Correct.
evaluate?
So what we do in a lot of our lab sessions is the actual personal trainer has to go through the exercises, they have to go through the assessments, they have to go through the screening so that they know what they feel like. And then in their clinical, at the very end of the curriculum, that's when we bring in actual clientele and train them so they get hands-on experience with real clientele at a very reduced price.
Chris, what about the wristwatch? Or at least it looks like a wristwatch there.
Sure. This is a polar heart rate monitor, and this is a device that we talked about earlier in the interview. But this is how we gauge your intensity while you're exercising. So once we get your assessment data, once we've done your exercise prescription, then while you're exercising, we're going to record your heart rate throughout the entire time period. And then what the Trifit system does is we can just set that heart rate monitor right there, and it will suck the data right into the computer system. So we'll have a record of every single one of your workouts during the time that you're training with us. And one of the cool things about technology is now you'll have access anywhere there's the World Wide Web for you to go in and analyze your file. So if you train with us over the lunch hour, you go back to the office. I hope the bosses aren't listening, but you jump on the computer and you can actually see how hard you trained for the day. So it's a good way for us to record how hard you're working.
So that's something that records the data and then you download it by putting it in the docking station.
Correct. Correct.
Interesting. Now, the students that go through this program, what if they want to do more? Is there something they can do beyond the personal training certificate?
Yeah, I'd like to emphasize this. The personal training certificate program was designed so that you can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. A lot of the requirements that you need to get your certificate are also requirements for our associate's degree. So a lot of, I would say nearly all of our students continue on and get their associate's degree in Kines, and we have a variety of classes that utilize this technology. So we have an Introduction to Athletic Training class, we have Exercise Phys, we have Introduction to Human Movement. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, we have several different types of offerings, several different types of curriculums, and my hope is that a student will find something that they truly love and then just continue their education. And we have students that have transferred to the University of Illinois, Southern Illinois, Illinois State. We've got students at all the state schools that are following their educational pathway to get that job that they covet.
It's amazing that Parkland has a program like this.
It's exciting.
Yeah, we hope we get a lot of people involved. And if someone's interested, they should contact you?
Absolutely.
All
I'd
right.
be glad to speak with them.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. And we've been here with Chris Warren talking about kinesiology and the personal training certificate. We're happy that you joined us. Thanks. And for Surrounded by Science, I'm Dave Leake.